Hello and welcome to part 9 of the story MHA and the Mystery of Quirks. I hope you like my story, and if you like it, leave a like and a comment down below. I'm giving my best to give you the best listening experience, and if you want to hear more of the story, leave a comment down below so I can see that my stories reach you. And then let's start right with the story.
For the first few minutes nothing much happened between them, and Iris couldn't help but let her mind drift. The gray-haired young man with those deep, unsettling black eyes had been oddly helpful. I wonder if he's ever been to Japan. He said he believed I should come here, that what he does lines up with my goals. But I can't trust him, he's at least as crazy as I am. Still, it almost feels like finding a brother in arms. At least he'll talk to me. If it weren't for him it wouldn't have been so easy to shake off those annoying heroes. If I see him again I'll have to thank him, but what's his name? Iris thought as her heart, surprisingly, quickened for someone who could just as easily kill her. It was that danger, and the fact that they shared similar aims, that made his presence oddly pleasant. She remembered, without planning to, how he'd even guarded her while she slept. It had felt so unexpected then. "What, did you think I'd kill you while you slept?" he asked. His rough skin looked as if it might flake away. "Yeah, I thought you might do something," Iris admitted, watching him in the dim light. "That would be stupid. You're stronger than I am, and I can tell I'd die before I could kill you. You hide it well, but you don't fool me. Besides, if I attacked you we'd both be finished. We shouldn't be here," he said as the clatter of the freight train made sleep difficult. "That makes sense. But how do you sense I'm stronger?" Iris asked. "No idea. Maybe instincts, or some kind of X-energy phenomenon," he replied, scratching at his neck. "You could probably explain that better than I can, but you don't have to," Iris said, not surprised to find her bag had been rifled through. It wasn't trust that stopped her from killing the man opposite her, it was the simple uselessness of it. There was only one possible end to such a fight. "I don't trust you. Not now," Iris said. "You shouldn't. But I'm off to work now. And you know what happens when two people try to kill one another here. Either both die or neither of us does. So keep your hands to yourself," he said, gesturing to the only slightly comfortable stretch of floor in the car. "We're there. This is the Gunhead Agency," a voice tore Iris back into the present. The building was large, black-gray, and as lifeless as her own existence felt. Practical beyond aesthetics, it looked built for use rather than for show. "Thanks for the help," Iris said. The words felt empty, another mask she wore because it was easy. When you smile, when you're polite, people are less likely to assume you've done something wrong. Cooperate, tell half the truth, make a few small mistakes, show regret, and they'll trust you more. In a world where power rules and justice is a lie, those were the only defenses a weak person could afford. Then, without warning, a figure vaulted across the rooftops above them. For a second, when the outline of All Might tore across the skyline, it felt as if everything had ignited. The oversized man with the wide grin exploded into the scene like a burst of light, splashing the city with the spectacle of his presence. The hero All Might was the mountain everyone expected him to be. In her mind he was crushed by a diamond mountain, thrown down from his throne as the crowd lost faith in their symbols. "No, pull yourself together. I can't kill him. He's too fast right now. He could end my life before I can even finish thinking. I don't have a 100% way to kill him yet. Not even a remotely reliable chance to seriously hurt him before he rips my heart out or crushes my skull like an overripe tomato. I don't even know if my ability affects him. Some heroes are harder to influence than others. That part is convenient. Still, for him I might make an exception. If my power is the tool I need to kill him, I'd use it. But until I'm sure of his limits and have a real chance, attacking now would be suicide," Iris thought, her hatred burning. It would be the kind of cold, simple bargain, one life for another, but he was too fast. You couldn't just kill the strongest, fastest man on the planet. "What is it?" asked Gunhead's sidekick, a hint of worry and something unreadable in his face. "Nothing. Just some bad memories from long ago," Iris said, and it was the truth, the memories were bad and old. Inside, the Gunhead Agency surprised her. It wasn't as gray and lifeless as its facade suggested. The interior felt more like a Japanese dojo than a slick hero office. While polite words were exchanged and Iris put on a practiced smile, her heart burned with an all-consuming hatred. "I'm sorry, Mother. I can't keep that promise. I can't smile. I can't live my own life. I can't leave everything that happened behind. If there is an afterlife, then I deserve any punishment I get if I make as recompense. Even if it costs me my life," Iris thought, guilt filling her chest for the broken vow. She knew it was self-destructive. She didn't care. Then Gunhead stepped into the lobby. "What's your goal? Why do you want to learn self-defense?" asked the giant of a man. His chest was partly exposed, his face hidden by a mask. His hair was a pale gray, and the mask made you wonder whether he could even see through it. He wore it like a bulky contraption with 4 small holes at the corners, a clumsy, oddly inefficient design. "I want to try not to be murdered, or smashed into red paste on the asphalt by a falling piece of debris when heroes or villains turn the neighborhood into rubble," Iris said, speaking with the tone of someone whose trauma underpinned every word, even though she hid it with a wide, composed smile. Despite her baggy clothing, Gunhead could see she was well-trained and experienced in fighting. "That's a grim way to look at things, but I don't see a reason not to help. That's what I do. I'll teach you more self-defense, but how much do you already know? And what do you want to achieve once you're strong enough not to be smashed?" he asked. "What will I do afterward?" she murmured. "I think I'll train at other dojos, boxing, aikido, maybe karate. Get a black belt in those arts. That would be a goal," Iris answered. "And after that?" Gunhead pressed. "I kill All Might and destroy the hero society. I either die doing it or I don't, and then I'll see what happens. Maybe I take my own life afterward. I don't know," Iris thought, and for a second the darkness in her eyes slipped free. It was a dangerous thought, and a small tear escaped before she wiped it away. "I can't say all of that out loud. They'd stop me. But really, what would I do after revenge? Would my life even have meaning then? I'd have achieved everything I set out for. Then I could spend the rest of my life training to see if I could bring the dead back. Maybe with my quirk I could revive Mom and Dad. Maybe I could become something like a god, absolute control over the atomic structure of matter. What would that make me but a god forged in pain and the fire of a burning society? That would be poetic, the hero society making me a god. But that's far from my current goals, and it would take ages to reach. I can't say any of that," Iris thought. "I think I'll buy a nice villa somewhere in the Philippines or on Hawaii and spend the rest of my days in silence. Or maybe I'll decide something else later. I don't plan that far ahead. It's hard enough just to survive the next day. So if you want to call it a plan, my plan is to make it to tomorrow without anyone killing me," Iris says. A flicker of uncertainty crosses her face, quick as a nervous pulse, as if the admission itself exposes too much of her inner world. For a moment she wonders whether she's made a mistake by saying it aloud. On one hand, it seems unlikely that the man opposite her, or anyone in the immediate vicinity, could detect lies or sense the truth behind her identity. On the other, she knows very well that the safest lies are the ones that stay close to the truth. Too many fabrications are traps of your own making. One wrong phrase, one detail out of place, and everything collapses. Iris has learned, painfully and repeatedly, that honesty is sometimes the simplest shield. At least half-truths are easier to maintain. "That sounds like you've had some bad experiences. May I ask what happened? Maybe I can help," Gunhead says. There is no theatrics behind his tone. He sounds genuinely concerned, genuinely human, which makes it harder rather than easier for her. "No, I don't want to talk about it. In short, someone took everything from me, and I'm not going to sit around waiting for him to finish what he started with what's left of his family," Iris replies. Her voice is controlled, but the edge beneath it is unmistakable. She knows that now, after so long, it's almost impossible for anyone to trace her back to her old life. That would remain true only as long as nobody ever discovered what Sophia Nova, or Iris White, was capable of. Her quirk makes it frighteningly easy to reshape matter at will, to disguise it, to rearrange it into whatever she needs. If she wanted, she could pretend her power was elemental. She could claim to control air or stone, or, if she refined her precision, she could manipulate molecular motion to heat or cool the environment and make it appear as if she wielded fire or ice. It's not true elemental control. It's simply overall, the ability to manipulate matter at the atomic and subatomic level, By rearranging electrons and stabilizing particles, she could craft illusions that would fool even competent heroes. I'm sorry. If you need help, you can come to me. I hope I can be of use, but I can't promise anything. I don't know the future, Gunhead says softly. His voice carries that warm, uncomplicated sincerity that Iris can't quite understand. She feels a strange warmth in her chest, but it's tangled with unease rather than comfort. Thank you. So how does this work? When does training start? I have the whole day, Iris asks, her practiced smile flashing with such perfect precision that it momentarily disarms Gunhead. If she hadn't just said something so heavy, or if he hadn't noticed the single tear she'd wiped away almost too quickly, he might not have realized how shattered she truly is beneath that expression. People don't smile like that after speaking about loss. Her smile is a lifeline, a shield of performance. Gunhead hesitates, studying her for a heartbeat, unsure whether to push or to let her keep the mask. It's not complicated, he says at last, gently shifting back into his role. He explains the rules, the format, the structure of the course. His voice is calm and clear, as if guiding her step by step into safer territory. It's a volunteer course. Simple rules, low cost, straightforward instruction. There's an opening today, so Iris signs up and, before long, steps into a real ring. The ring is in the basement, a dimly lit, wide concrete room with the smell of sweat soaked into the walls. Ropes creak faintly when touched, the way they do in boxing gyms or underground arenas where men fight to feel something. If it weren't for the steady, reassuring hum of her quirk under her skin, she might feel uneasy in a place like this. If I ever go all out and actually use my quirk, hardly anyone would be a threat, except heroes whose quirks specifically counter mine. Most heroes rush in blindly, Mountain Lady, Aizawa, Eraserhead, even Death Arms or Kamui Woods, they all have to get close. Close is safe for me. The one who worries me is someone like Lady Nagant. If she's still active, from a distance, I'd be in trouble. I doubt I can disassemble bullets midair with any reliability yet. And if someone makes physical contact, I might not have time to react. I need to learn to influence molecular motion precisely. Heat manipulation, particle vibration. If I could surround myself with a thin ring of burning air, anything that touches it would be repelled or destroyed. The theory is sound. I just need the precision. My power is already obscene, Iris thinks, her mind turning over calculations while she waits. The cool basement air prickles against her exposed arms and torso. It's not modesty or shame that bothers her, it's the way scars draw eyes, the way strangers try to assign meaning to them. She hates the questions they invite, questions she doesn't want to answer, questions no one deserves to hear. I can talk about at least 2 of the stab wounds on my stomach. The rest, I can't explain. I can't say I let myself be cut to get closer to someone, because that would mean admitting I used my body as bait, a weapon, and that I don't value my own life, she thinks, looking down briefly at her own skin with a flicker of unease. Her gloved right hand twitches. That scar is a memory she can't escape, a map of everything she lost to the so-called heroes who pretend their hands are clean. Wow, you're hot, girl, a young male voice echoes across the room. Shut up, idiot. Gunhead snaps, thumping the boy on the back of the head with a solid palm. The reprimand is firm, immediate, and protective in a way Iris didn't expect. Ready? This is just training. I want to see how far you've come, Gunhead says, moving into his stance with professional ease. When the bell, more a soft, distinct chime than a true bell, sounds, something in Iris shifts. The world narrows. Sound compresses. Her opponent becomes a silhouette of moving joints and shifting weight. Her body moves without hesitation. Feint, step, strike, withdraw, slip, pivot. Every motion is precise, economical, dangerously practiced. She fights with the calm determination of someone who has lost too much to hesitate. There it is again, that wild, dark thing in her eyes, Gunhead thinks as he dodges another blow. There's something uncanny in her movements, not the savagery of a beast, but the clean, deliberate violence of a survivor who has made decisions she can never take back. It doesn't take long before sweat beads on his forehead. He's strong, trained, experienced, but her instincts are sharper, her reflexes honed by circumstances far harsher than any gym. Enough. I've seen enough. You have room to improve, Gunhead says at last. He tries to keep his tone calm, but there is unmistakable surprise in his voice. People don't just learn to fight like this. Not alone. Okay. Thanks for the fight, Iris says simply, stepping back. Have you ever had a teacher? Gunhead asks, unable to hide his curiosity. How exactly am I supposed to answer that? Iris replies, keeping her expression neutral. She cannot say that the only person who ever taught her anything turned people to ash with a touch. She cannot speak his name. She cannot speak of decay, or of the man who shaped her into someone ruthless enough to survive him. But the truth remains, she never learned in a dojo. She learned elsewhere. In worse places. Why do you want to know? She asks, studying the gentle giant in front of her. Gunhead is patient, steady, almost awkwardly earnest about the hero-villain dynamic. He's more decent than most. To be honest, if my guess is right and you taught yourself, then you're one of the greatest martial talents I've ever met. Especially with how little time you might have had to train. You're already stronger and far more enduring than most men I know, he says, genuine awe creeping into his voice. Correct. I had no teacher. I've never been to another dojo in my life, Iris answers. It's not a lie, just absent of context. The day stretches into late afternoon. Lessons end, students leave, and the noise of the agency slowly fades into the warm sigh of evening. Hey, can I ask you something? Gunhead calls out as they stand near the steps of the agency. Sure, Iris answers, turning toward him. I noticed you never take your gloves off. Is there a reason? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. I'm just curious, he says. His tone is gentle, not prying, and he means it. He's simply asking. I have a very ugly burn scar on my right hand, and I think it's less noticeable if I wear gloves on both hands rather than just the one, Iris says. Her voice is steady, simple, and honest. At least on the surface. Thanks, Sir Gunhead. See you next time, Iris says as she walks off down the street. There was something odd about Iris White beyond her uncanny aptitude for picking up martial arts. It seemed unlikely she would move with such speed and precision without a professional teacher, yet there was something else in the way she carried herself that made Gunhead uneasy. The economy of her movement, the sudden, compact strength in her strikes, it suggested some form of passive physical enhancement. That must be it. Her quirk gives her passive physical reinforcement, Gunhead thought as her figure dissolved into the crowd. He couldn't have been more wrong. Gunhead had no way of guessing that the effect wasn't produced by a quirk at all. He couldn't have known there were other forces at work, phenomena not tied directly to a person's quirk. Iris wandered Musudafu without a strict plan. She was looking, always, for something interesting, a pattern, a weakness, a way the hero system showed its seams. Why is knowledge about X energy so rare? Why does almost nobody talk about it? She wondered as the scent of salt from the nearby bay drifted up to her. Her shoulder-length black hair skimmed her collar as she strolled, and then a different smell cut through the sea air, acrid, metallic, the reek of burning. It should have been an alarm in itself, but when explosions rent the evening calm, the city's speeding lights turned everything a hard red. The sound and the stench fit together into a single, terrible motif: blood, fire, ash, and the false heroes who prefer cameras to casualties. How many bodies are hidden in heroes' basements? She thought with a small, bitter smile. When she reached the source of the chaos, she couldn't help smiling more. A slime villain had latched onto a little boy with an explosion quirk. Some viscous green substance crawled into the child's mouth and nose as the villain tried to take over him. The heroes were busy keeping civilians at bay, more concerned with preventing curious onlookers than with the strange, specific danger unfolding right there. What a spectacle. Of course the cops are keeping people back. Why would anyone want to get close to a kid who might blow himself up? But if that slime manages to possess the boy, what does the villain get? Everyone will see him inside that body, so what's the point? Unless he can use the kid's quirk. That would be interesting. Still, this slime guy's getting a one-way ticket to Tartarus, Iris mused, catching her reflection in a shop window. For a fraction of a second she noticed something odd in that reflection. Beneath her tinted contact lenses, her real eyes seemed to glow. It felt unnatural because it shouldn't happen, at least, not for her. What on earth was that? Why would my eyes flare like that when I let myself get swept up in feeling? Physically it makes no sense. None of my biology glows. If it's not a quirk originating in me, then it must be an external effect, some other quirk, or a natural phenomenon. Maybe it's X energy, an atmospheric, paranormal thing that creates external effects without being a person's quirk. If so, what is X energy exactly? Why can it make physical effects that ignore direct biology? Where does that energy come from? The questions tumbled through her mind like an entrance to a rabbit hole. The more she looked, the deeper the conspiracy seemed to go. It was strange that hardly anyone used the term X energy, that culture didn't even discuss the atmosphere itself as possibly paranormal. Maybe these external phenomena were simply not well understood, or perhaps they were deliberately kept secret. If there was a purpose behind the silence, it would explain why so few people noticed. Or maybe people were simply too dull to see that a heightened sense or a sudden glow in the eyes wasn't always the product of a quirk attached to a single body. The more she watched the failing heroes, theatrics and propaganda still controlling public perception, the more cutting her amusement became. The propaganda was embedded too deep. People accepted the show because it was easier than facing the consequences. The red light in her eyes faded as quickly as it had appeared. No one else seemed to notice. Then, without warning, a shot cracked through the air. A smoking pistol flashed in the hand of a dark lilac-skinned woman with snow-white hair and turquoise eyes. She stood in a black, elegant suit, utterly composed, the kind of calm only someone absolutely certain of their own invulnerability could have. "Arg, my eye," the slime villain screamed as the green mass around him convulsed. The goo lost its structure without the eye to anchor it, it sagged into a viscous, thick green puddle. The villain remained alive, but his ability to hold form appeared badly damaged. "Hands up where we can see them," shouted the police. Their guns glinted in the dying sun as they all turned toward the lilac woman. "Yeah, wait a second," she said as she checked a smartwatch and spoke into it, completely unruffled. "Long story short, I saved a child, I shot a slime villain in the eye, and now the police want to arrest me. Would you be so kind as to get me out of this? I've got a nap scheduled." "Okay, that's all, see you at dinner, boss." "You've got to be kidding me. 5th time this month," a voice from the smartwatch complained, more irritated about the inconvenience than alarmed by the danger. "I'm surrounded by officers waving guns like they know how to use them. I don't think one of their shots would hit me. Anyway, they're getting riled up. Maybe someone will lose their nerves and fire. Don't let the scene get out of hand. See you at dinner, boss," she said, seemingly bored. "Put your hands up, or we pull the trigger," barked a dark-haired cop, entirely average in looks and competence, shaking with the kind of bravado that rarely matched skill. Iris watched the police fumble and missed the fundamental paradox. Why, in so many confrontations between villains and law enforcement, do bullets rarely find their mark? Pistols still fire at subsonic or supersonic speeds. Normal humans should not be able to dodge them. Something in the air made precise aiming difficult. At least the white-haired woman had actually hit her target. She wasn't afflicted by whatever made the cops' shots ineffective. The stranger in the suit did not look stressed. "Stop the drama. I'm not raising my hands, you're stressing me out. I'll come quietly if you're polite enough, but I'm not making a fool of myself for you idiots," she said, cool and insolent. "You must follow instructions, mutant, or we'll shoot," a policeman snarled, and fired. The bullet missed and struck a car behind her. "Racism again. I'd hoped for better," she said, flicking an invisible speck from her collar as if none of it mattered. The scene was a perfect little grotesque. A child in danger, a slime villain incapacitated, police flustered, and an unshakable, playfully arrogant woman waiting for someone to come free her. Iris kept her hands tucked into her coat pockets, watching the theater unfold and feeling the cold thrill of possibility ripple through her chest. "I don't think you should be policemen if you're going to be so racist toward people who simply don't look the way you expect because of how they were born. Mark my words, you won't get away with attacking someone who isn't hostile. That could easily be classified as attempted murder," says the relaxed, lilac-skinned woman as if she were commenting on the weather. "Navit. I'll show you what happens when you resist the police," snaps the loudest officer, re-raising his weapon and firing again. Of the 5 shots that whip through the air, only one finds its mark, and that single bullet is stopped by a surprisingly solid arm. "Oh, look, attempted murder of a civilian. That'll look great on your resume," the woman says, her turquoise eyes cold and analytical. "What are you talking about? My father is the officer sputters, but he never finishes the sentence. The white-haired woman explodes into motion with breathtaking speed and, in the span of a heartbeat, is back in front of the arrogant, racist cop. The ground trembles beneath her feet. Fragments of pavement fly up as she turns so fast that she is barely more than a blur streaking through the rain of stones. In that instant, as the late sun paints the square orange, Iris White notices the nameplate on the violet-skinned woman's coat flash clearly in the light. So, her name is Luna Snow. A pretty name, Iris thinks, as the unknown woman's movements become faster and faster. No matter how many projectiles the police throw at her, it looks less like dodging and more like dancing through a hail of pebbles, not refined martial technique, but overwhelming, inhuman speed and strength. Call for backup. The villain is resisting, bellows the red-haired police captain, a man as loud as he is arrogant, the one who started the whole confrontation. He speaks like someone certain his view is unquestionable. Then his voice cuts off not because he's tired but because the air has been taken from him. An iron violet hand clamps around his throat. There is one thing I absolutely cannot stand, Luna says, her grip like a vice. Arrogant, racist assholes who think they're better than everyone else because they happen to have a useful quirk. I will not bow my head to tyrants like you. Behave yourself and arrest me the way your duty requires, or make this difficult and let it escalate into a real conflict. Let it become exactly what you fear. I don't mind. It's your choice. Shoot. And your captain, your boss, will catch those bullets for me. Or act like decent people, as you should, and stop attacking me. Either way, you'll regret it. Don't expect me to stand here and bow to tyrants. Do what you should, or you'll have the Nova Corporation to answer to. Let's see if Musutafu police want a war with the Nova Corporation. I wouldn't mind. How far this escalates is on you. Attack me if you dare. I'm curious how far you'll go, how many people will be hurt before you understand that this problem is your racism, not me. Her voice is ice. She says it in a tone that leaves absolutely no doubt she'd use the captain as a human shield if she needed to. I am the son, the prefectural police commissioner's son, the red-haired, racist senior officer stammers, but Luna doesn't raise an eyebrow. So what? I don't care who you are. You're as mortal as anyone else. Either behave properly, or I'll take whichever annoying idiot is closest as a shield. Put your weapons down. I'll come quietly if that's what it takes, but don't try any tricks. You'll regret it either way, Luna says, the weight of her words making argument pointless, as if she states an absolute truth, not something to be debated. I knew something was wrong, mutters a rookie in the unit, still wet behind the ears. What do you mean, wet behind the ears? Asks a hulking man with shoulders like a wardrobe. Well, sir, I've seen her before in a photo. She's often pictured next to the CEO of the Horizon Corporation. I think she's one of Michael Silver's close aides or a bodyguard. We can't risk her words being true, the surprisingly perceptive policeman says, the only one approaching the situation with real logic. What bullshit. That little girl can't be a bodyguard for someone that important. Even if she were, what can a CEO do? Break the law on behalf of a bodyguard? Whatever happens here stays between us, the big man snarls, glancing at the civilians with a threatening glint in his eye. As the tension grows and weapons remain raised, the situation threatens to explode further. Then Kamui Woods appears, drawn by the commotion. He had briefly left to fetch a stronger hero, an action Iris had thought foolish, and Luna thought downright stupid. What's going on here? Kamui Woods asks, his presence calming the police nerves slightly simply by existing. The police behaved racistly toward the potential secretary or bodyguard of a major corporate figure because she's a mutant, someone from the crowd shouts. As civilian voices rise, pointing out the injustice, Death Arms, who had stayed behind to monitor the scene, can't help but agree. He saw it with his own eyes. Can you please stand down now? No one's going to shoot you, and you don't need to make threats that will only complicate things. We'll make sure you get a fair process, Death Arms says, trying to de-escalate. It mostly works as the violet-skinned stranger slowly lowers the captain to the ground. No, I will not get a process. The people who use racial violence while I offered to come peacefully are the ones who should face court, not me. You should know that, Death Arms, Luna replies. Yes, They clearly overreacted, and they will face just consequences, but letting an innocent officer be taken as a hostage isn't the right way to handle this, says the superhero Death Arms, as he pulls out a pair of quirk-regulating handcuffs and approaches the woman named Luna. Her turquoise eyes flash dangerously for a brief second as she releases the man from her iron grip and gently pushes him onto his backside. Haha, I can't quite believe you think I would so obviously take a hostage, or that you think I'd do something that stupid at all. I don't know whether I should be amused that you see me as so simple-minded, or puzzled at how you heroes intend to do your job if you hate every mutant, every person with a quirk, who doesn't fit neatly into your good versus evil narrative. I can't decide whether to marvel at the way you create your own villains with your actions and then wonder why people bleed. But I suppose expecting you to think before you act is asking too much, Luna Snow says casually as the handcuffs are fastened. A strange, almost bizarre sensation washes over her skin, a warm tingling that feels strangely electric and cold at the same time, giving her the impression that the use of her quirks is growing heavier with every passing second. Even before Death Arms opens his mouth, Luna senses a hint of arrogance in the words about to come, as if she already knows what's coming. You don't know what you're talking about. But I suppose nothing else is to be expected from a villain like you, Death Arms says, his spiky blue-gray hair mirroring that of Gunhead. Despite his muscular frame, he is noticeably bulkier, and his superhero outfit looks just as ridiculous as his overall appearance. Of course, Luna replies, dripping with condescension. Now I'm the villain because I'm not keen on being shot or treated like a racist fool. I thought you just looked dumb, but apparently, you are dumb, like a rock in the forehead kind of dumb. Now, wait. I'll show you how to properly respect heroes, Death Arms snaps, reaching for her arm in an attempt to intimidate her. I'd suggest, if you value your life, you don't touch that, at least not the spot on my arm. But if you want to die, feel free to try. Not like I didn't warn you, Luna says, calm and collected, even as suspicion builds around her and weapons are trained on her, demanding she reveal what she's hiding under her sleeve. She continues, frustration creeping into her words. I don't like repeating myself, but this is a really bad idea. I'm injured, and I don't want to hurt anyone else. So please, get your aggression and paranoia under control. It's just a small wound on my arm. Even as the heroes refuse to back down and the now recovered police officer applies more pressure, the situation remains dangerous. Luna carefully rolls up her sleeve, revealing a silvery, metallic-looking device that resembles a bandage. I've seen a similar support item before on a professional hero from the northern region. I can't remember which one exactly, but this thing could expand instantly and become a weapon, Death Arms remarks. Hey, just let her handle it herself. If it's a support item, we'll see what it does, Kamui Woods says, stepping back slightly, his calm voice cutting through the tension.
Thank you for your attention. That was part 9 of my story, MHA and the Mystery of Quirks. I hope you really liked it, and if you liked it, leave a like and a comment down below. If you want now to see the next part of the story, you can click on the right side of the screen, there's the newest video I uploaded. On the left side of the screen there's also now the newest video I uploaded. And then I hope you have a nice day, take care and goodbye.